That's important. Strive to do that every week. Very hard to do. Good job of lane collapsing and discipline. Make a returner stop his feet, and then he can stay on the move and get a big hit. So that was executed, and good play. Yeah, it's right here. So if one unit of any team across the NFL isn't playing, the other two are still playing their game, and that's just how it works. So it's the game of football is best played when complemented, like all three units are complementing each other. And old saying goes, right? You're playing basketball, you're a shooter, and your shots aren't falling that night. You got to get it on the defensive end and find a way to get a steal, a takeaway, and a fast break to get yourself going. So, kind of take that analogy, and that might work for the kickoff team or the punt team, etc. So, go ahead. Yeah, I think the external motivation from those guys isn't something that's going to get them going. They just want to be the best that they can at their craft. Everybody on our football team does. The O-line takes pride in protecting, and if they go and get beat, they're going to be, hey, I got to get that correct. If they go and they dominate, hey, I got to go and do that again. So nothing that I'm doing. We're out there having fun, of course, because it's a game of football. There's an element of emotion, and that definitely showed up and provides a little more. But at the same time, those guys just want to do it every time to be the best they can be. Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. I've said it I've always termed that phrase entry-level jobs in the kicking game, and that's fine. Again, we do have veterans that have reset, and they said, hey, I'm going to play whatever role is asked of me. But those quote-unquote fringe of the roster, on and off, whatever it might be, I enjoy that because it's a blue-collar workman's mentality. That's the space. That's the word that I love is earned, and those guys, have to earn it, and those guys have to show that every single day. We've mentioned this before with guys like Grayland Arnold, have to earn it every single day, and whatever their role might be, they have to continue to find ways to improve. And honestly, if you have that kind of mentality, whenever your opportunity shows itself, hopefully you're going to be ready to capture that. So I love working with that capacity of player. Hopefully we can find that every single week, every single year, anytime there's a new addition to the roster.
Speaking of that opportunity,
Yeah, any player that is here, if you're not winning football games, which we haven't got to a point yet where we're going to accomplish that, and we're going to, but you have to find every single person has to be willing to take their gloves off and put their hands in the dirt. So it doesn't matter who it is, what position you're playing. If you're a starting corner and you're taking reps on punt return, kickoff, or as a returner, if you're the next tight end, you're repping on, you might never get a chance in a real game, but you're repping on multiple phases for the depth. So Tyler Johnson, another example, wide receiver position, adding in return reps, whatever it may be, whatever we're asking them to do. Everybody has to take their gloves off, get their hands dirty. Yeah, anybody that's on a roster, we got to play football. We got to go and execute whatever down we're asking it, whether it be a punt or a kickoff or a return unit game. So, all those linebackers, if you're a linebacker in the NFL, you have had or are going to have kicking game experience at some point, So, look, Jacksonville Jaguars, if you guys haven't watched the tape, that unit has been injected and infused with energy from Heath Farwell coming down from Buffalo. That's a good kicking game unit. We have our hands full. So, you got guys that are coming out of Chad Muma, the Gunners and Clay Brooks, Daniel Thomas. You got one of the best special teams players in the NFL in Wingard running all their core four. He's their game plan guy in the personal protector. So we've got our hands full this week. We need every single person that's on the active roster to contribute, find a way to get an edge in that phase of the game. Anything else? It's good?
All right, thanks, guys.
See you guys in Florida.
think we saw, a point where I felt like we had a good rhythm as an offense. We were able to hit some big plays, and good things were happening. We felt like we had some momentum, but nevertheless, there's no reason that we can't start games that way, and now just take a lot of pressure off the sideline by putting up points early. So got to do a better job that way. Say it again.
What do you feel like Davis was able to find, whether that might have been other players around him that allowed him to have that kind of success in that portion of the game?
I think it was, just partly at that point, it was a gotta-have-it situation. And not that we don't expect to have urgency early in the game, but it was urgent that we shifted the momentum our way. It was important that we, started to bring some life to our sideline and to the stadium. And, that's our goal every time we have the football, to try and score the ball. So we'll start by, just being a lot more aggressive and attacking for four quarters. Well, we knew he had that breakaway speed, and, we recognized that he's a talented young player, and the more we find ways to put the ball in his hands, whether or not he's handing the ball off or find a way to get it to him in the passing game, we expect that he's going to create his own yards. So we're going to continue to just do that, get him the ball.
What would you say is his best quality?
Just really, the combination of power and speed. As you see, how often do you see 70? How long was that run? I'm not sure. 75-yard touchdown runs in the National Football League. A lot of times, our backs or backs in general break out into the open field, and lo and behold, you have defensive backs that chase them down and have a better angle of pursuit. And now it's just a long gain and not a long touchdown. So I think we saw, really good acceleration. We've seen the power throughout, our games up until this point, and he's an explosive playmaker.
It seems like he has a big personality. What's he like off the field, and what are your interactions with him like?
No, he's businesslike. He is. It's important to him, and we all understand the challenge that we have ahead of us in a really good Jaguars team, and he's focused.
Coach, what are some things that he needs to work on away from the football for you guys to feel comfortable in putting him in some more higher leverage situations and playing later in the game?
Well, I don't know that he needs to work on those things away from football. I think it's more important that he continues to learn to play without the ball.
That's what I meant. In terms of like blitz pickup,
Right.
Pass protection, not just the carries. Just curious the usage, really, why he hadn't been present later in games and in some higher leverage situations.
Well, just it is a combination of, we'll just put him in there and let him play and grow through some of these situations, but it ultimately is going to come down to gaining that experience and trust of the other guys in the huddle that he can play without the ball. And it's not that he hadn't shown the ability to process the information and or physically do the things that we're asking him to do, but there's a lot of situations that arise in the game where, it's just some unknowns, and just like with any young player, it's not, always the best. It's not always in the best interest of the unit to put them in those situations.
How do you balance the decision between him and Rex out in the 4th and 1 there, and the decisions behind that?
Yeah, that you could argue that we're starting to have a pattern when Rex is in there as opposed to when Damien's in there. So we'll do a better job of recognizing, of course, just from a self-scout standpoint, some of the things that the defense may look at.
Coach, this defense had this offense had the moments throughout the season sustaining Jonathan Storm and the other ones, of course, kind of really struggled. What have you seen through these first 4 games where this offense can become more consistent?
Yeah, just the mentality, just understanding, every play is the most important play in the game. And when you have a collection of, just a variance of experience, should I say, you have some players that understand, man, just how tough it is to focus for 65, 70 plays throughout a game and be at your best on any given play. But then you have young players who, at times, for whatever reason, just that process of processing the information, getting to the line of scrimmage, and more so troubleshooting the different looks that we see on a Sunday afternoon becomes more of a burden and challenge. So it's just really mitigating the times where you put players in a position where they're trying to adapt to something that they're somewhat unfamiliar with.
Can you talk about this facing the Jaguars? What kind of challenging defense presents for you guys?
Well, first and foremost, it's a division game, and so they count double. But nevertheless, they're a really good defense. They're athletic up front. They have playmakers on the back end, and they find ways to harass your quarterback. So we have to do a great job of having balance, keep ourselves out of obvious passing situations, and just find ways to, score points early and often.
You mentioned the self-scouting earlier. How do you address kind of like how do you have people aware of your own blind spots? How do you self-scout?
Oh, you self-scout, every Monday. The day after your game, you go back and look at just some of the tendencies that obviously the opponent may identify as well, and then you adjust and adapt accordingly. But, nevertheless, the defense, they still have a lot to defend. I think we're multiple in our personnel groupings, and we have a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things. So early in the season, there's not as much data for I guess, to determine whether or not, this is a high tendency. But nevertheless, there are some things that you look at that may give an indicator of whether or not it's run or pass or who you may be trying to get the ball to. But we do that every week.
With the play action game, obviously, Damian Pierce running extremely well last week before that. How do you mirror making a play action game? How do you mirror run with the pass? We all look the same. How do you do that at time?
I don't know that it's very difficult when you have multiple tight ends that can, serve a few different roles, and that's what we try and do. We try and, of course, present personnel groupings, formations that doesn't make it obvious that you're doing one thing or the other. So we'll continue to try to do that. I think it's ultimately going to come down to how well we execute early in games. You go back and you just look at, you just go and you self-scout the third downs early in games and look at, just in the first two drives, how, we've stalled as a result of whether or not it was scheme or lack of execution or tip ball in the case of what happened this past Sunday. So there's a lot of things that factor into all the above. But, yes, we want to not make it obvious that we're doing one thing or the other.
Davis has been blitz third most in the league. Do you feel like that's purposeful? Other teams seeing anything? He hasn't done bad against it. How do you use the approach that if you pay attention to?
Yeah, I think it's part of it maybe is, still early in the season, so it's only time will tell if that's, in fact, just a way that teams feel like they can attack them. But nevertheless, we always anticipate that there's going to be situations where we are blitzed. I don't know exactly how many of those blitzes were successful with regards to sacking the quarterback. I'm sure they've gotten us off the spot a few times and maybe gotten us out of rhythm. But nevertheless, we're expecting blitz anytime it's an obvious passing situation. But we expect blitz, and we prepare for the blitz on any given pass play.
All right. Thanks, Pep.
Thank you, guys.
Everyone.